Gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, who is also the chair of the Subcommittee on Investor Protection, Entrepreneurship, and Capital Markets, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Inflation has been a worldwide problem since COVID. It's maybe a third larger here in the United States than in most of the developed world. We had a lot of fiscal stimulus. We should remember that most of it was bipartisan. Most of it was signed into law by President Trump. Yes, there is one bill for $2 trillion, the rescue bill, that was Democratic. There was also a $2 trillion tax cut bill that was exclusively Republican during the Trump administration. So both parties have been solely responsible for $2 trillion in fiscal stimulus. We kept people's incomes high during a COVID pandemic, but we closed down the bars, the restaurants, all the entertainment. People had money, they couldn't spend it having fun at restaurants and bars. They went to Amazon. The ports in Los Angeles, as one of the witnesses pointed out, 20% increase at all-time volume, and of course there were delays. When it comes, those delays have led to more inflation. We have passed, pretty much with Democratic votes, an infrastructure bill. If we had passed it 5 years ago, we wouldn't have had the delays, particularly in the ports in Los Angeles. We've had many hearings in this committee on the cost of housing, and clearly local governmental decisions raise the cost of creating new, particularly apartment rental units. We are told, I believe by Mr. Zandi, that this inflation is costing the average American family $275 a month. Keep in mind that under the American Rescue Plan, families were getting $250 per child, $300 if the child was under 5 years old. So we insulated parents up until our failure to pass the BBB bill. We've passed a competitions bill to make sure that more of the chips are built here. Autos are a huge a part of the inflation. I believe 1/3 is caused by auto costs, and that's a chip shortage. I've talked about ports, and finally, I'd like to talk about oil. Keep in mind that Democratic policies for conservation have virtually doubled miles per gallon. Imagine what the cost would be worldwide per barrel if Americans were still driving the kind of car I was driving when I got my first car, 9 miles a gallon. We have alternative energy, we have efficiency. Oil production in the United States is higher today than it was when Biden took office. We're stated for 2023 will be the all-time record in U.S. oil production. Mr. Zandi, what is the worldwide elasticity in the demand for oil? Will we see either here or in other countries people using less oil because it is so expensive? And I'll point out that I think might be more elasticity of demand in other countries than here in the United States.
Yeah, the elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand for oil is low compared to other products and services, obviously, yes, because it's a necessity. People need to get to work. But to give you a sense of it, before the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the run-up in oil prices, oil was trading about $75 a barrel. We expect that global demand for oil this year to be about 6 million barrels a day. Just for context, there's 100 million barrels a day of demand, roughly. Now, with prices, let's say they average, closer to $100 a barrel. Now, obviously they're a lot higher today, given all the things that are going on. But for the year, they average $100 a barrel, and hopefully it's no more than that. Then global demand will be something like 5.5 million barrels a day. So that gives you kind of a sense of the price elasticity of demand. That also reflects weaker global economic activity. So there is some impact on demand in the near term. There's more impact in the longer run because then people can change behavior and
people can adjust.
Change.
If I
Yeah, but then
can
it's relatively small.
just point out that supplemental unemployment insurance ended in early September, and we have not seen a we've seen by its sunsetting that it was not having a major effect on the availability of labor and the number of people in the workforce. I'll yield back.